Hello, and welcome back to Building a 50s Diner for a video game. I'm Jarrell from Sungran. This is the Sungran channel. Mighty glad you joined me here again today. We've made quite a fair bit of progress. Just prepared a few things so we can get this episode moving along smoothly. If you've missed the other episodes, 8 of them before, I'm terribly sorry. They're gone forever. You might not ever be able to find them again on our YouTube channel, but I'm glad you're here just in time for episode 9. Let's go ahead and mosey on in here. We'll just intro way forward. Take a few steps, and you'll find that we are now inside the frying saucer. Fantastic. Wonderful. Hey, it looks like we've got a new friend here. It's Romanik from episode Prelude on the Nintendo Switch. Fantastic. He's here hoping to maybe get some snacks or a burger. So, I've lined up a few things here that we can take a look at, and I've started filling out the details. One of the details we have here is the chalkboard menu, which is currently blank, but I will be populating this with data after I come up with the entire menu for the Frying Saucer Diner. So what we'll do is duplicate this fellow. We'll slide him over to the left just a little bit, duplicate him. Let's see, if someone were to stand right here where Romanik is standing, they would be able to see the menu, but there's a minor problem here. They look too identical. It's quite uninteresting. It looks very clinical. You can tell it's very artificial. So what we're going to do is tilt this little fella slight bit of an angle here. There we go. Maybe this guy can go the opposite angle just for a little bit of character. How about that? They look quite happy there, don't they? Fantastic. Now, the materials still don't seem quite right, do they? One of the main issues we can see here is that the wood material is 100% identical. So, very easy to fix that. I've actually prepared one of these just here. You can see that I've got two materials. I've got an alternate version of this wood here. So what we're going to do is use this offset one that I call offset. You're going to see that now the wood is quite different. And what I've done here is a very simple trick. Tiling, you can either change the tiling so it'll scale differently, or on the offset you can put 0.3. Tiling means that it will repeat multiple times, but if you do that too many times it'll start to look a little bit silly. So for now we'll just leave it the offset at 0.3, and now the wood grain looks indistinguishable from each other unless you were to take a magnifying glass to it. But I think that looks quite nice. Let's go ahead and take another step back and see how that looks. Wonderful. That looks quite nice. You can tell since last episode I've populated a few glasses here. Right. We have some drinking glasses and we have some tumblers. Let's go ahead and select them and duplicate them another time. And we'll duplicate them again. What do you guys think? There are quite a few seats in the house. Maybe we should duplicate them one more time. How about that? Now, they seem to be lined up a little bit too evenly, don't they? Let's go ahead and zoom on in. I'll use the arrows forward and backward or up and down to zoom in and out of the objects here. I like using this navigation. It makes it easy to sort of navigate the scene so you can line up your objects just the way you need. Let's go ahead and slide this back here. There we go. We'll move that just a bit. Here we go. Fantastic. This over. Move this guy forward. This a little to the right. Move this back. There we go. These guys look quite happy here, don't they? There we go. In amongst all their friends. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to have a look at that here and think that might look just a little bit too clinical, a little bit too lined up and clean. So let's go ahead and slide this guy over a little bit to add a bit of asymmetry and beautiful imperfection. And wonderful. It seems to line up quite nicely. It catches the light quite well. Now, one thing I've noticed about this glass stack here is that these look a little bit too perfect. I'm going to remove one from there. And how about we remove two from here? Fantastic. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? Okay, let's have another zoom in. Oh, we've gone too high. Let's go ahead and fall back a little bit. Alrighty. You don't want to stack them too precariously. We could actually duplicate one of these stacks and have them standing off to the left here to increase the quantity of glasses that we have. But for now, I think we'll leave that there. They look happy just the way they are. We also have these trays here, which I've painted a color to match the cabinets down here. And also I've adjusted these seat colors so they pop just a little bit more. You may have noticed I added a roof here. That's just to make sure we get more realistic lighting so that the moonlight doesn't punch through. But you'll see sometimes when I use the navigation keys, it'll send me up top to the roof where I don't want to be. So perhaps we might just disable that for the time being to make it easier on the eyes. Let's go ahead and disable the roof. There we go. We select the roof's parent, disable that. We can always come back to it later. Fantastic. Now, we have our stack of trays. Let's go ahead and duplicate them, raise them up just a little bit. How about that? Oh. Wonderful. And it looks like I'm receiving alerts. Let's go ahead and set my device to silent, which I thought I did earlier, but apparently I was wrong. Here we go. And I believe it is now on silent mode. Wonderful. Let's go ahead. Fantastic. Now, raise that up just a little bit. I think that gives that a nice little bit of detail there. We also have these plates, which are stored here. That way any staff can pick up plates as they need them, but we want the majority of our plates to be stored somewhere in the back room, which we've organized just a little bit, as you can see here. We now have two sets of areas where we can cook. We have our stove here and there, and I might need to track down a deep fryer. It looks like we have a grilling surface here, which is just right for hamburgers. Fantastic. But people do like to have French fries with their hamburgers, so I will need to track down a deep fryer. Now, I'm not a professional deep fryer modeler, so I have to look for an artist who's created a deep fryer and see if I can pick up a deep fryer there and add that to an asset library. Wonderful. Now, I was having some major concerns with this area as I didn't feel there were enough cooking areas. So I sort of shifted the refrigerators over, and I thought perhaps this could be used as a cooking surface. Dishes can be stacked here. But for the time being, let's go ahead and populate this with some interesting details now about this. Let's see, what do we have here? We have a rather vintage-looking blender, but this is a country diner, 1950s style, and maybe they aren't the newest, flashiest diner in the world. Everything here still works, and they wash their dishes before they use them, so that's good enough for me. Fantastic. Look, we have a vintage coffee maker here, which I think we'd like to use in the front room. So let's sort out a microwave. Wonderful. It's good to have a microwave here. I think I need it at 270. Fantastic. Might be better to put the microwave here in the corner. It's a bit dark for my tastes, so I think I would like to lighten that up a little bit later on when I look at the materials. Let's go ahead and put this on standard. Makes sense here. Okay. All right, and we can adjust this later on as need be. We can also open the door. Good. Doesn't seem to hit the wall as it's opening. That's very good. Fantastic. We can put large dishes in there. Got a blender. Let's see what other things we might need here. Slow cooker might be nice, but we also need a toaster. It's important to have a machine to make toast. Wonderful. Let's see. We have our lever for this fella. I'm not seeing a lever on that. I wonder if we have another toaster. I'm not a big fan of this one as it doesn't seem to have a lever. I cannot wrap my head around it. So we might put a kibosh in this fella's career here and say goodbye to you. Goodbye. Let's go ahead and head on back outside. Get our coffee machine and bring him out here. This is quite a neat vintage style to the coffee pot, isn't it? But it does look a little gross, and I wouldn't personally want coffee from a machine, from a jug that looked like that. So we are going to go ahead and say goodbye. Let's see here. We'll want to unpack the prefab completely. Let's go ahead and remove the pot. And if we can get this fella to fit in here, that would be just fine. So it looks like we will have to make some minor adjustments. And let's just go ahead, make it a little bit wider, make it a little bit shorter, because I do like this shape. The pot does look clean, which is a major plus in my book. Fantastic. Swing him around, and we need this fella to fit just a bit better here. Go ahead and raise that up, make sure that pot can slide right on in there. We might have to bring this up just a little bit more, because it looks like this fella will need to fit in there. Okay, let's go ahead and shrink that down just a little bit more. And we'll raise this guy. I might actually go in and modify this model to shrink this part just a little bit. I don't want to have to keep raising this unit and making it bigger and bigger, but I can grab just this portion of the model and reduce the size of that. So I think we may do that. It looks like I've been scaling it a little bit incorrectly, as my objects or my components of the model have now gone a little bit cattywampus. Let's go ahead and take a few steps back, why don't we? Now, it seems to be better. What we'll have to do is again redo some of our changes. And again, I'm going to modify this model a bit just so it fits our purposes just the way we need it to fit. All right, now we can go ahead and move this guy on over here. I'm not sure about this little fellow now. I think we might say goodbye to him for now. Goodbye. Wonderful. Okay, let's go ahead and set this pot here. That seems to fit in there just fine. Everything's looking vintage and fancy. Wonderful. Okay, now we do have some trays here which we can put French fries, chicken nuggets, and other sorts of snacks. So it might be nice to get this all lined up. Yes, that seems to fit there just nice, doesn't it? Fantastic. Oh, my timer seems to have closed. I'll open up my timer so I can keep track of where I am. We are back on track. Okay. And wonderful. We're going to use Control D again to duplicate. And now I'll make myself just a little shortcut here. After I've made 5 of them, go ahead and reselect them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll duplicate the 5, and fantastic. We have a stack of trays. Go ahead and select all 10 now. We'll duplicate that stack, which you can also do is you can parent or you can child these to a parent, and you can prefab the parent, and then you can select the parent themselves. I don't necessarily have any reason to do that at the moment, but in the future I may do that to make sure that our scene remains clean and tidy and easy to manage if I want to select all of the objects and move them around. There we go. We'll give them just a little bit of imperfection there to make them interesting. Wonderful. Excellent. Now, I may do that for these as well. Let's go ahead and use our arrow keys to nudge our camera view into the place. We will select them, and as you can see, they're perfectly lined up, which doesn't necessarily look organic. Okay, we'll go ahead and shift him over, and we'll rotate, and it looks like our imperfections added to the character of that just a little bit. This is one item which any players from Silver Falls 3 Down Stars might recognize the low resolution version of this. You can also find, I believe this item is also an episode Prelude on the Nintendo Switch. And this is Jen Erickson brand all natural syrup. If anyone's interested in the flavor text on the back, perfect for that smoky early mountain morning stack of pancakes, just like your ma used to make them. Add that rich, deep sweetness to your soul every morning. Wow, that sounds fantastic. As a developer, there's one thing I did forget to do in this particular instance. I didn't check the scale of this object. So you can see this is quite a large bottle of syrup. So what we might do is go ahead and shrink that down just a little bit. There we go. Fantastic. That seems like a nice, healthy serving of a bottle of syrup. Let's go ahead and drop it on our table here just to make it a little more interesting to look at. Wonderful. Okay. It's just fine there. And fantastic. And to add interest to your environment, you can stack them on the tables with some imperfection. It's the imperfections that make things interesting and wonderful. Go ahead, this guy, just like that. We can repeat the same for the other tables. I'll save myself a little bit of time with a small shortcut. I will select all 3 items, Control D to duplicate them, and let's move them across. This time we'll put them on that side. I'd like to rotate them. So there's multiple ways you can do that, either through pivot, which would move them all, or you can click on center. And they'll all rotate in place. Now it looks like they've moved a little bit to a funny position in terms of this fella. Grab this guy, and you know what? He's facing the wrong way. How about that? He's a little bit of a rebel, but he's a fun little guy. How's that? Fantastic. We have a little bit more character in our scene now. Let's grab this fella, bring him to the other side. Fantastic. Now, something I do want to do at some point is to remove some of these chairs and replace them with different chairs. That will add more life to the scene, and it will make the scene feel more organic, and it'll make the environment more eclectic and interesting. So let's start removing some of these. Oh, dear heavens, I've made a mistake. I'll want to unpack this prefab so I don't delete the entire object. There we go. And I will replace those with other chairs later on. You may have also noticed we added a gumball machine here. That'll be quite nice. I have a nice bit of chewing gum that maybe has been sitting around for 4 or 5 years, but hey, that's all right. Candy's candy. Fantastic. Looks like we do have a nice big bag of Jen Erickson American Snacks potato flavor with extra preservatives. Fantastic. That's exactly what you want in your snacks. So this is potato flavored. I'm not sure if they have to add anything extra. I would like to build a wall rack. Some times you see in the shops you have that plastic or metal strip that runs down the maybe the end caps or where the stand holds the snacks there, and they sort of clip onto these. So I might build something that like that in a 3D modeler, so I can have these hanging from the wall here. But I think what I might do is go ahead and just grab this guy, and we'll bring him over here just for now. So when patrons are having a drink at the bar and maybe they feel like a snack, they might go ahead and ask the staff to serve them a snack. There we go, sitting on the shelf there. Fantastic. And we do have a similar item. So again, I'll use our trick from earlier. We'll go ahead and copy the transform there. And let's paste our chips just here. There we go. Now we've shared the same position. And we have cheesy moose antlers. Cheesy puffs. What if the back says anything? Do you need a powerful crunch to keep you going through the day? Very few snacks in the world can deliver that satisfying crunch that rocks your skull and brings an avalanche of flavor down on your taste buds. If you are not tough enough to handle it, call the emergency services now, because Jen Erickson brand chips will rock your world. Our brand of snack items draws on secret legendary ingredients from all around the world. Finely crafted, perfectly balanced flavors are the only snacks good enough for true snackologists. Buckle up and brace yourself for an intense snack experience. Wonderful. Okay, and it seems like we are running close to time. Thank you very much for joining me again. This has been episode 9 on the Sungran channel for building a 50s diners for video games. We appreciate you checking in here, and golly gee, I sure do hope that you check in again for the next video on episode 10. Y'all take care of yourself now, you hear?